Dolemite is My Name is directed by Craig Brewer and stars Eddie Murphy, Keegan Michael Key, Mike Epps, and among others. And this is
And
the
bring back Wesley Snipes.
yeah, and this is based on this is a biographical film based on the life of Rudy Ray Moore, who was basically a comedian that a stand up a guy that was a stand up comedian in the '70s that basically started out playing pretty much a doing stand up roles, and he basically later can create a character known as Dolemite, which became the basis of a film in the 1970s for blaxploitation films. And in this film, it
Yeah.
explores the rise the rise of Rudy Ray Moore's career, going becoming that character, and along the way, meeting his friends and other people that later join him with becoming pretty much a sensation in the not only the comedy community, but also in the blaxploitation era of films.
Yeah,
And
it's basically a story of a guy who was struggling to get up to where he was at.
yeah, and
And we also want to also bring up that why this was also a must see because of Eddie Murphy. We haven't seen him in something like this in I don't know how many years. It was great to have him back in something ain't kids for once,
yeah,
ain't children friendly. But uh, the guy in real life is actually from Fort Smith, Arkansas, which happens to be the place me and Justin live at.
yeah, that was actually pretty surprising. I had no
Phreeks
idea about
says,
that until
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
he brings up where we live at Fort Smith, where he's from, and then also one of the Kill, I forgot his name, Keenan, Kel
Keegan
or wherever,
Keegan Michael
Keegan.
Keegan.
Keegan, his character is actually from Varner, Arkansas, which I know where that's at. So
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah, because
And now
you remember they were both talking shit about like leaving, which I don't blame them.
yeah.
It is a fucking hellhole.
Yeah, but
But
now
anyway,
here's a little backstory. Now, this is a film that I actually got kind of curious about because I'm not really like I don't really know much about the actor Rudy Ray Moore in real life. I have seen like clips of some of the movies that from the movie Dolomite because there was a review I watched of it some years back where it basically was a film that its most notorious parts was you can actually see the boom mic in like almost every shot, and that became pretty much a
yeah.
parody. And so I don't really know
Yeah,
much about the
but
actor.
I'm gonna get into my pros on that because it reminded me of another film. That but anyways, yeah. I think I might have remembered seeing uh not really seeing the original film itself, but I think I've heard of it. I can't really recall. I've seen so many very exploitation blacks and every whites and all that from the 70s. The 70s was really known for exploitation films. They actually make fun of it in this movie where they have redneck uh, exploitations. You got white collar exploitations and stuff. Basically, that's what it was back in the 70s and 60s. It was real big on exploitations where instead of a general audience, people went for their color and their race, the race, and yeah, and I was looking forward to seeing it because of Eddie Murphy. As you know, that Eddie Murphy dissolved from being into these raunchy cussing type movies or just in general those type of movies because I guess he had kids. I believe that was one of the biggest reasons why he went to family oriented movies.
Yeah, because back in the day, I didn't really grow up a lot with Eddie Murphy's like old school stuff, like Beverly Hills Cop and stuff like that. But I still watch like clips of it from time to time, and I can see that there was a period that in the '80s when Eddie Murphy was like one of the most raunchiest comedians out there, and his movies in those days were his heyday. And then in the '90s, I
Yeah,
got pretty much introduced to believe it or not, I actually got introduced to Eddie Murphy in the '90s when he started doing Nutty Professor and all that. And
yeah, I
that was
did.
pretty much my generation.
Nutty Professor, it was probably the first of mine, but I started kind of I've seen other stuff of his stuff. You probably haven't from like the 80s. I was Eddie Murphy Raw is like one of my favorite stand-up comedy sketches, other than like George Carlin and all them. that was probably Eddie Murphy Rawls. Like I remember, I used to rewatch that motherfucker. I own this other one. I forgot the name of it. His other stand-up comedy was well known. I thought Eddie Murphy Rawls was way better, but I remember I used to watch that shit on repeat all the fucking time, man. And yeah, Nutty Professors. I love them. Beverly Hills Cop. I love those movies. Which they're supposed to be making another one soon. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, let's get into the review. I was, I was curious to see this film, and after upon seeing it, I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't call it his best work, but it's his more better work today, should I say?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be honest, like I think the last actually good movie that I really enjoyed with Eddie Murphy, as far as the last like decade, was probably when he did Tower Heist, where you could see that he was kind of coming back to his old school kind of route, because there was that period for a while he was doing a bunch of kids movies for his kids. So this Eddie Murphy that
Say
came
like
back,
daycare and
uh,
Monster House, I think
Doctor
it was
Doolittle,
Monster's House.
uh,
Doolittle, then he Doolittle movies, yeah.
yeah. And so with this one, I do like it was a great welcome return for him, and I got to admit that I actually really enjoyed this film a lot. And to get my pros out of the way, as we saying, Eddie Murphy, he nailed it as great. He was outstanding. This is probably his best performance in years that I've seen him like on top of his game. In fact, what's funny is his last R-rated film that he was in was a movie I still hold up as one of my all-time favorites, is Life from 20 years ago. So
Yeah, Life was fucking hilarious. But yeah, he was highlighting this movie. I'm hoping this breaks new ground where he could start getting into more, R-rated, maybe some deeper shit now that
mm,
he's, trying to come back. You got to think this movie has two actors who went missing for many years, Eddie Murphy and Wesley Snipes. And I'm hoping
yeah,
this film kind of helps both of them get to where they need to go. Because, I mean, I loved Wesley Snipes in this film too, and he's not really a main focus. He don't really come in until the second half. But he plays a pretty funny fucking character.
yeah, he plays the
He made me laugh. I mean, he was a highlight too, and I'm hoping we can get more of it. Wesley Snipes, because that's a talent going is being wasted.
yeah, and
To be honest,
and that's the other thing too. That's yeah, I'm glad to see him back as well, because because he plays the director of the movie that Eddie Murphy's Rudy Ray Moore wants to pretty much have him direct and everything. And
yeah,
basically he talks shit about him, how he's like about trying to the way that they set up like all this like shots and stuff. And when they get into like all the making of aspects, they actually do like a lot of like stuff that's authentic that they really had to pretty much get away with back in the 70s, because they pretty much had
yeah.
to rely on such a small budget.
One of my other pros, now that we're on the subject, is um, like I got into the story a little bit with like him, like going struggling to get up there, and and then he was doing the stand-ups. But I think my favorite part of the movie, which I'm about to get into, is one of my pros, is when they're making a movie where Dolemite wants to make a movie about himself, and nobody on set or people they're hiring knows dick about anything. So they asked Wesley Snipes, who's only been like the only credible guy who's been in films before, so he kind of directs a little bit. And this goes into territory that kind of remind me of Disaster Artist,
Yeah,
the
I was
black
going to say
people.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
'cause, I mean, there's some fucking shit that's just going on as they're shooting, and Wesley Snipes is like cringing, and it's a blast watching them make this movie. In fact, I would have loved to see a whole movie of them making this
Yeah.
instead of the second, because I get it's a story, a biography about a guy in real life. He did other stuff like stand-up comedies and stuff. I don't think the stand-up comedy part was really more my forte. While it wasn't bad, it just I wasn't really into what he was doing. But I get the rise of it, and I really enjoyed the rise. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed making of the movie part.
Yeah, I do too, and
So
I do like where the movie was going with the whole stand up routine, because he has a mixture of like different like performances as the Dolemite character that he creates, because essentially he gets this all because he was pretty much hearing stories from these homeless guys that were telling him about, you know, and trying to basically tell jokes and stuff that he was trying to write and everything. And the movie does play into that, where you know he's trying to come up with his own material, and basically it. And believe it or not, and this is off topic, it would later create what would be now considered modern day rap, because there are a lot of rappers like Snoop Dogg and all them that took a lot of inspiration for Rudy Ray Moore, the way that he started doing his rhyming technique as far as comedic stuff.
Yeah, he was the one that pretty much created rap, and he also was the because like you said, like during his stand-ups, you know, everything was rhyming, which pretty much got the idea of making rap. He also was the guy who made black exploitation more mainstream too. So
Yeah, well,
uh,
sort of. I mean, like it was still during that period where it was on the kind of opposite approach, so to speak, because the movies
I mean,
that,
you still had Shaft, of course, yeah, but
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, Shaft was appealed to both races, in my opinion.
yeah,
It wasn't. This was meant for black people only, and it ended up being a hit. So it was
true.
kind of, kind of like a thing. You know, African Americans can make movies that appeal to their people and still appeal to everybody. So
Yeah,
I really, I liked all the other cast members. I really like that. That big girl where he meets in a bar and she ends up knocking that one dude out.
yeah.
Yeah,
What's
she
her
was
name?
pretty.
She's
I mean, everybody's pretty good in this. Pretty good in
yeah.
this movie.
There's also some other
So,
cool. There's other some also some interesting cameos they have in there that I even realized were in the movie, like Snoop Dogg
oh,
himself
I know.
in it, and you also got Chris
Well,
Rock.
I knew Snoop Dogg would be somewhat in it. I had a feeling then Chris Rock, but what threw me off was Better Call Saul.
Yeah, Bob
That threw
Odenkirk.
me
I
off.
was like, whoa.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I mean, there ain't really much going to. It's got a very interesting story. It was interesting seeing how it plays out and how he went from stand up to want to be a major motion picture producer and
And I like
make
that
movies
message.
and star in them.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
message the movie also did, where you know he's you know like the endless the stories that tell time, you know, about pursuing dreams and stuff. And no matter what he did, even because there were actually points later on in the film where there actually goes to a point that he actually has a struggle trying to get the movie financed and stuff. And the movie does tackle a lot of the real life issues that go into that. And I thought it was pretty, you know, it showed a good message about a guy who never gave up trying, an artist that never gives up
Now
trying,
with that,
basically.
now with that, it has a very good message that I thought they kept at a tame level, which everybody can watch and understand. Where he's being also denied by major studios because, for one, race relations weren't great at this time. So he had to go through obstacles of being denied by everybody, because everything pretty much was run by white people. So the struggles of overcoming that barrier to get to where his movie ended up being kind of a hit for a lot of people. So that was a good. I mean, the plot itself, the story is very interesting. If I had any cons, I will say that well, I did get the beginning part where the guy is struggling, so he's saying stuff that a lot of people ain't laughing at. But then when he starts kind of meeting his like highlight part, where he's starting to say some funny stuff, it isn't until the latter of the movie where he's doing stand-up comedy that actually got funny. I wasn't really getting the like some of the jokes. They weren't really all that funny at first. You get what I'm saying? When he started
Yeah,
getting good, I was kind of like, I'm not really, I'm not really laughing. And I
I
was, around that little part, there's a little portion I was a little bored with. But
yeah,
like I said, to me, when it gets to the middle and second half, is really where I personally think the film really takes off.
yeah, absolutely. And I gotta admit, like, you know, the movie well, that's is one of my cons, where the comedy can be kind of hit and miss on some levels, where not all the jokes land like they should with some of the stand up parts. But and a lot of the shtick that a lot of his stand up routines are kind of pretty much like the same type of vibe that you pretty much know where the jokes are pretty much kind of recycled. Well, but it kind of like worded differently, so to speak. It's just on one of those kind
I
of
mean,
levels.
they were kind of recycled because when he was struggling to find that funny joke, because of course, um, this is about a story about a guy where he did used to be a very good at being funny, but then he lost his edge and he's trying to regain that back. And because he had a stand-up comedy show at the very beginning of the movie, and his lines was cringy, and people were like, no. He got booed off stage, and basically he goes and finds people who have went that route before, who unfortunately are bums down, don't have no money, they're pretty much broke, and he hears them talk and he sees what other people like to talk about and bullshit and laugh about. And not only that, that kind of also makes me think, did Dolemite also create the first album that would be stand-up comedy? Because did any of that ever exist on album back in those days?
That I'm not sure. I know that it was pretty popular. It got popular a lot in the 80s, especially in later years with George Carlin and stuff like that. But
because George Carlin I've watched some of George Carlin. I was wondering, as far as putting them on tape and album, if that was something new, because that's what Dolemite does to get to make ends meet at the beginning. So that's pretty. I don't know. I'll have to do my research, but yeah, it was a pretty decent film. I will say that it won't be nowhere near my top 10 lists or honorable mentions or anything, but it was a good film. So with that being said, I'm going to give this film a low compelling grade in Film Freaks meter.
yeah, I'm agree with you. It's definitely a low compelling grade in the film freaks meter as well. However, I will admit that this is actually a rarity where even though the movie itself is very entertaining, it is very enjoyable. I will say that if Eddie Murphy himself gets nominated, that would actually be a surprise because this is definitely his best movie in years, especially his last time.
His performance was fucking like off the charts. So
So fair enough. For those of you who have also seen Dolomite is My Name, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And also, if you've seen the original movie that the movie is based off of, Dolomite, and some of Rudy Ray Moore's other stuff, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and check out some of the reviews here and our website at filmfreaks.com. We'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
Later.